The administration celebrated Saakashvili. Bush went to Tbilisi, was hailed by hundreds of thousands. They named the road from the airport after George Bush, and yet they did no serious high-level preventative diplomacy in the last year. You know, in 1999, and you remember this personally because you were one of the people on top of this story, in 1999, President Clinton sent his Deputy Secretary of State, Strobe Talbot, all over the region, commuting from Moscow to Tbilisi, and they worked out a deal on the two breakaway areas of Abkhazia and Ossetia. Putin broke that deal. The Bush administration knew all this and relegated it to a very low level in the State Department, while, as the Wall Street Journal points out today, the Secretary of State was focused on Iran, Iraq, the Middle East. This was a preventable, foreseeable, predictable crisis. In fact, I predicted it in print 2 years ago and repeatedly, and so did you on television.
What does Russia want?
Russia wants to overthrow President Saakashvili. They've already essentially got the two enclaves, but he is a real thorn in their side, the most pro-Western, most pro-democratic, most pro-American leader in the former Soviet space, and he is not to their liking, and they want to overthrow him in order to get rid of him, put a friendlier person in Tbilisi, and send a chilling warning message to Ukraine and other parts of the former Soviet Union that this is their space once again. And remember this, Jim. Vladimir Putin said famously a couple of years ago that the greatest tragedy of the 20th century was the collapse of the Soviet Union. Now, we're not returning to a new Cold War here. I don't want to leave you with that idea. But this is a historic event we've just seen, and it shows that Putin is determined to reassert Russian muscle in what he calls its own near abroad.
Well, for the past 2 decades, NATO, the European Union, and the U.S. have all been pushing against Russia on the ropes. Economically, at the very least, Russia is back. President Vladimir Putin, the former President Putin, now the Prime Minister, taking a big role in what has been happening in the last few days in Georgia. Is this a new post-Soviet era that we're witnessing?
Well, it's certainly a new era. This is the first time the Russians have sent troops outside their own country in combat in 30 years. Last time was Afghanistan. It is a tragic event, and the world cannot ignore it. It will affect Russia's relations with the West.